Most people live as prisoners, not behind bars, but behind the chaos of their own mind, the recklessness of their words, and the confusion of their finances. But greatness begins with self-mastery. Today, I invite you to step into a higher version of yourself, because when you learn to control your mind, you silence the noise that steals your peace. When you master your mouth, you speak with intention, not impulse, and when you command your money, you create freedom, not fear. This isn't about control, it's about liberation, and that journey starts now with you. Your mind is your greatest asset or your biggest liability. Every extraordinary life begins with extraordinary thinking, and every broken dream begins with a thought that was never challenged. Most people go through life without ever realizing that they are not their thoughts. They live on autopilot, allowing random fears, doubts, and negative patterns to run their minds like software no one ever updates. But to truly rise, to lead, and to live with purpose, the first thing you must master is your inner world. Because your thoughts are the seeds, your emotions are the soil, and your life is the harvest. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your decisions. And your decisions shape your destiny. It all starts with what you allow into your mental space. If you feed your mind garbage, distractions, complaints, criticism, you will produce a life of chaos. But if you feed your mind with clarity, inspiration, and truth, your life will begin to align with peace, purpose, and power. The mind, when undirected, becomes a playground for fear, but when trained, it becomes a weapon of transformation. You see, your external results, your success, your relationships, your bank balance are nothing more than a reflection of your internal dialogue. That's the secret most people miss. They work on fixing everything outside, their job, their boss, their situation. But they never fix what's going on inside, and unless you master the voice inside your head, the noise outside will always win. You are not weak, you are not broken, you are simply untrained. Just like you go to the gym to train your body, you must train your mind every single day. Read powerful books, journal your thoughts, surround yourself with people who stretch your thinking, reflect deeply, build habits of silence so you can hear what matters. The mind, once disciplined, becomes a servant to your highest self instead of a slave to your lowest emotions. And don't wait for the perfect moment to start. Don't wait for the world to slow down. Mastery begins with small, daily victories. It starts when you choose focus over distraction, when you respond with calm instead of reacting with rage, when you think long-term instead of chasing short-term comfort. That's the real work, not glamorous but life-changing. Will there be resistance? Yes, your old thoughts won't go down without a fight. They'll try to convince you to stay the same. They'll say, this is who you are, or a change is hard, or what's the point, but don't believe them. You're not your past, you're not your fear, you're not your failures, you are the thinker of your thoughts. And the moment you remember that, you reclaim your power. The world doesn't need more people living on default mode. It needs more people who have learned to master their minds, because when you control your thoughts, you control your focus. When you control your focus, you control your actions, and when you control your actions, you control your outcomes. That's the chain of greatness, and it all begins inside your head. So today, make a decision to stop living from reaction and start living from reflection. To stop being ruled by fear and start being led by vision, because once you begin to master your thoughts, you don't just change your mindset, you change your entire life. That's not a promise, that's a law. In the modern world, noise is everywhere, not just the kind you hear, but the kind you feel. Notifications scream for your attention. People rush, thoughts race, and in all this chaos, most people forget one truth: silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of clarity. And clarity is power. You were not born to live in distraction, you were not built to be pulled in 1,000 directions. Yet that's exactly how most people live, scattered, stressed, and overwhelmed. Their mind jumps from one thought to another like a monkey swinging from tree to tree. And they wonder why they feel anxious, why they can't focus, why they don't feel peace. The answer is simple: they've lost touch with silence. You see, the world celebrates noise, it rewards constant movement, constant updates, constant activity, but greatness doesn't come from noise. It comes from depth, and depth is only found in quiet. The most powerful decisions you'll ever make will not come to you in moments of chaos. They'll arrive when your mind is still, when your breath is steady, when your soul finally gets a word in. You can't hear your instincts when the volume of the world is too high. You can't connect to your purpose when you're drowning in opinions. You can't think clearly when your mind is cluttered with everything except what truly matters. That's why learning to silence the inner noise is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It's in silence that ideas are born. It's in silence that fears are faced. It's in silence that wisdom rises from within. Some of the most successful people on the planet guard their quiet time as their most sacred ritual, not because they are escaping life, but because they're tuning into it. Because without silence, there is no self-awareness, and without self-awareness, there is no growth. Silencing the inner noise doesn't mean running away from the world. It means returning to yourself. Taking just 10 minutes a day to sit in stillness, to breathe, to listen, to be can shift your entire day. You start responding instead of reacting. You gain perspective. You begin to notice the toxic patterns in your thinking. And slowly the storm inside begins to settle. The truth is, your mind is like a lake. When it's agitated, you see nothing clearly. But when it's calm, everything reflects perfectly. That's the gift of silence. It gives you yourself back. It lets you see what's really going on behind the curtain of your busyness. It teaches you that peace isn't found in finishing your to-do list. It's found in being fully present with yourself. The greatest leaders, creators, and thinkers weren't great because they were always busy. They were great because they created space. They practiced solitude. They scheduled time to be alone with their thoughts, and that space allowed them to think deeper, dream bigger, and act bolder than the world around them. In a world that's addicted to noise, your silence becomes your strength. Don't underestimate its power. A calm mind makes sharper choices. A centered person becomes unshakable. When you own your silence, you don't need to prove anything. You simply live with purpose. So take time each day to disconnect from the noise, even if it's just for a few minutes. Sit, breathe. Observe. You don't need to fix anything in that moment. Just allow yourself to be, because in that stillness, you'll find answers you've been chasing in all the wrong places. And slowly, as you make silence a habit, the world won't control your mind anymore. You will. That's when transformation begins, not from doing more, but from hearing more. Not the world, but the voice inside you that's been waiting for you to listen. Words are not just sounds, they are forces. They have the power to uplift or destroy, to connect or divide, to inspire growth or plant doubt. Every time you open your mouth, you're shaping your future, and yet most people speak from emotion, not intention. They speak to release, not to connect. They speak from impulse, not purpose, and then they wonder why their relationships are strained, why people pull away, or why their leadership doesn't land. But here's a truth very few understand. The most powerful person in the room isn't the one who speaks the most. It's the one who speaks with precision, with calm, and with clarity. That's what separates the wise from the loud. Emotion is temporary, intention is timeless. When you speak from emotion, you react. When you speak with intention, you lead. We all feel anger, we all get frustrated, hurt, insecure, but maturity is learning to pause. To take a breath, to ask yourself, what outcome do I want from this conversation? If the answer is peace, then don't choose words that create war. If the answer is connection, don't speak from a place of pride, and if the answer is clarity, don't let your words get hijacked by impulse. The human mind processes emotion far faster than logic. That's why people snap in seconds but regret for days. You can't undo what's been said. You can't take back that sentence. You can't rewind time, but you can train yourself to become intentional. To choose your words like an artist chooses colors, with care, with thought, with purpose. This doesn't mean you stay silent. This doesn't mean you suppress your truth. It means you become a master of your message. You learn to say hard things with softness. You learn to express pain without inflicting it. You learn to speak truth without arrogance. That's the real work. And it starts in your daily life, the way you speak to your family, your friends, your team, even strangers. Do you talk to impress, or do you speak to connect? Do you react just to win arguments, or do you communicate to understand? These little habits of conversation become the blueprint for your reputation, because people won't remember every word you say, but they'll remember how your words made them feel. Speaking with intention also means speaking less. Most of the time, silence speaks louder than noise. The strongest leaders aren't the ones constantly filling the room with their voice. They're the ones who speak when it matters and say exactly what's needed. They understand that timing, tone, and presence carry more weight than volume ever will. When you shift from emotional reaction to intentional communication, your whole world begins to change. Conflict reduces, respect increases, people begin to trust you not just because you're honest, but because you're mindful. They know you won't weaponize your words. They know you mean what you say, and you say what you mean, and perhaps most importantly, the way you speak to others mirrors the way you speak to yourself. If your inner dialogue is harsh, critical, and chaotic, that's what you'll give to the world. But when you start speaking to yourself with compassion, clarity, and confidence, your outer world begins to reflect that inner peace. So today, begin this new standard for yourself. No more careless words, no more emotional explosions, no more throwing words around like they don't matter. Because they do. Every sentence is a signature of your character. Speak to build, speak to heal, speak to elevate, because once your words become intentional, your life follows the same path. Your energy is your life force. It fuels your thoughts, your goals, your relationships, and your ability to grow. But energy isn't infinite. It can be drained, polluted, and even poisoned, especially by the conversations you allow yourself to be part of. Most people don't realize this, but every word you listen to, every dialogue you participate in, either feeds your spirit or depletes it. And if you're not intentional, toxic conversations will quietly become the thieves of your focus, your peace, and your potential. Think about how you feel after engaging in gossip, or after listening to someone complain non-stop, or arguing just to prove a point. You don't leave those conversations more inspired. You don't feel stronger. You feel heavier, scattered, disconnected. That's not by accident. Words carry energy. Negativity is contagious, and every time you immerse yourself in drama, in criticism, in small-minded talk, you lower your frequency. You become what you absorb, and just like your body rejects unhealthy food, your soul resists unhealthy dialogue. The difference is most people listen out of habit. They think they're being polite by nodding along, but in reality, they're participating. They're agreeing by staying silent. They're giving their presence and attention to things that don't deserve their energy. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't need to entertain conversations that go against your growth. You must protect your mental space like it's sacred, because it is. If someone were to walk into your home and start throwing garbage everywhere, you'd ask them to leave. So why let someone dump garbage into your mind and spirit through their words? This is not about judgment, it's about boundaries. It's about choosing what you allow into your mental atmosphere. If a conversation doesn't lead to clarity, progress, healing, or understanding, you must ask yourself if it's worth your energy. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Silence is a boundary. Walking away is a decision. Choosing not to reply is wisdom. You don't need to correct every lie. You don't need to defend yourself in every situation. You don't need to explain your piece to people addicted to noise. Your energy speaks louder than your explanations. This doesn't mean you isolate yourself. It means you become intentional about your environment. Start choosing people who speak possibility, not limitation. Choose circles where ambition is normal and vision is celebrated. Surround yourself with those who talk about ideas, not people. About solutions, not endless problems. About values, not vanity. And if you're in a space where you can't always escape negativity, at work, at home, or socially, then learn to filter. Don't absorb everything. Let words pass through you without letting them penetrate you. Protect your thoughts through awareness. Ground yourself in truth so you're not shaken by other people's projections, because here's the truth: you are not here to participate in low vibration chatter. You're here to grow, to rise, to lead, and to build. Every toxic conversation you disengage from is an act of self-respect. Every moment you choose peace over pettiness, you reclaim your power, and every boundary you set around your energy becomes a declaration of your self-worth. So starting today, be mindful of what you give your ears to. Pay attention to how certain conversations make you feel. Your body knows, your spirit knows, and once you start trusting that inner signal, you'll stop tolerating the noise that never served you in the first place. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's essential, because without it, you lose your edge, and you were never meant to live dull, you were meant to shine. Money is not just a tool, it's a mirror. It reflects how disciplined you are, how clear your priorities are, and how deeply you respect yourself. The way you handle your money is often the way you handle your life. Scattered money habits usually mean scattered focus. Overspending usually points to emotional gaps. Avoiding money conversations often signals fear or shame. And here's the truth: until you give every rupee a clear purpose, you will always feel like you don't have enough, no matter how much you earn. Most people chase money without learning how to master it. They think more income will fix their problems. But more money doesn't solve chaos. In fact, it amplifies it. If you can't manage 1,000 wisely, you won't manage 100,000 any better. Because the issue isn't how much you have, it's what you do with it. Financial peace doesn't come from earning more. It comes from controlling what you already have with clarity and intention. Your money needs direction. Every rupee should be given a job, a mission, a purpose. When you spend mindlessly, you're not just losing money, you're losing vision, and often, you're using spending as a form of escape. You buy things to feel better, you swipe to avoid emotion, you invest in things that look impressive rather than things that bring long-term value. But the feeling never lasts, the debt grows, the anxiety creeps in, and the cycle repeats. You don't break that cycle by guilt. You break it by strategy. Start by tracking your spending, not just for control, but for awareness. Where your money goes shows what you truly value. Are you investing in your growth or just your comfort? Are you spending to impress others or to improve your future? Are you buying peace of mind or buying distractions? Next, learn to separate wants from needs. This isn't about being rigid. It's about being wise. Financial freedom isn't about having more, it's about needing less. It's about knowing what matters and cutting out what doesn't. Most people live bloated lives, too many subscriptions, too many things they don't use, too many financial commitments that leave them drained. Simplify. When your money is lean, your mind becomes clear. Saving is a sign of respect for your future self. Every rupee you save is a vote for your long-term freedom. It's not about being cheap, it's about being prepared. Emergencies will come, opportunities will come, and when they do, you'll either have to panic or you'll be ready. Discipline today is what gives you options tomorrow. And don't just save, invest. Invest in your learning, invest in your skills. Invest in assets that grow while you sleep, because money that sits without growing slowly loses value, but money that works for you multiplies. Don't fear risk, fear regret, the regret of knowing you could have been further ahead if you had just taken control earlier. And perhaps most importantly, be generous with purpose. Giving is not a weakness, it's a mark of abundance, but don't give blindly. Give where it makes impact, give in a way that aligns with your values, and never give so much that you sabotage your own foundation. Charity starts with wisdom, so take ownership of your money story, rewrite the patterns you inherited, break the habits that no longer serve you. Build systems that automate your goals, and remember, when you manage your money with purpose, you gain something even more powerful than wealth. You gain freedom, the freedom to choose, to breathe, to build, and to live life on your terms. In a world obsessed with hacks, shortcuts, and instant gratification, there's one timeless truth that never changes. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you are meant to be. It's not talent, luck, or even intelligence that separates the successful from the stuck. It's the quiet, consistent practice of doing what needs to be done, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when no one's watching. Discipline is the superpower that unlocks everything else. People admire freedom, but most don't understand how it's earned. True freedom isn't doing whatever you want, that's chaos. True freedom is having the power to do what's right, even when your emotions tell you otherwise. It's being able to control your impulses, stay aligned with your vision, and stay committed to your path, even when distractions are screaming at you from every direction. Discipline is choosing growth over comfort. It's waking up early when your bed feels warm. It's saving money when you'd rather spend it. It's choosing silence over reaction, focus over scrolling, and progress over pleasure. These choices may feel small in the moment, but they compound. And over time, they build a life that's solid, focused, and deeply fulfilling. Without discipline, your dreams will remain concepts. Ideas that sound good but never manifest. You'll start things but never finish. You'll get inspired but never take consistent action. And that gap, the gap between your potential and your reality, will begin to feel like a burden. That's where frustration lives. That's where regret grows. But discipline changes everything. When you become a person who follows through, you begin to trust yourself. And that self-trust becomes unstoppable. You no longer wait for motivation. You rely on your habits. You no longer get thrown off by every setback. You know how to reset and keep going. You stop living in extremes and start mastering consistency. The beauty of discipline is that it can be built. You don't need to be born with it. It's a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Start small, keep promises to yourself, set one daily non-negotiable and do it without fail. It could be journaling, a 10-minute walk, reading a few pages, drinking more water. It doesn't matter how big or small. What matters is that you prove to yourself day by day that you are someone who follows through. And yes, discipline requires sacrifice, but what you sacrifice in the short term is nothing compared to what you gain in the long term. You give up laziness to gain clarity. You give up distraction to gain momentum. You give up comfort to gain power. Every disciplined act is a trade, one where the return is far greater than the cost. There will be days when you feel like quitting. That's normal, but don't let emotion make decisions that discipline should handle. On those days, remember your why. Remember who you're doing this for. Remember the future you're building. Show up even when it's messy. Push forward even when it's slow. That's how real transformation happens, not in grand moments, but in quiet choices made over and over again. And the reward? You become unstoppable not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger, more focused, more intentional, more in control. And that control over your mind, your mouth, and your money is the foundation of a life lived on purpose. So if you're waiting for a sign, this is it. Don't wait for motivation, build discipline. Don't seek perfection, seek consistency, because once you make discipline your superpower, you won't just change your habits, you'll change your identity. And that changes everything. If you'd like, I can now help combine all 6 points into one powerful speech format or prepare closing remarks for your talk.